The gig economy, it has a real problem right now. And it doesn't really matter what gig app it is, whether it's Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, any of them, all of them. There's a real problem on the horizon, plain and simple. Passengers are complaining about the prices. Customers for DoorDash are complaining about the prices. Drivers and delivery drivers, they're complaining about what they're being paid. And it seems like that all of these gig apps, they all have an affordability crisis, plain and simple. They're taking too much money in fees as far as service fees, insurance fees. They're being overtaxed by the states. And the whole system is just a horrible, horrible mess right now. All right. So what is causing this issue? Well, I mean, it's simple. It's greed. There's no other way to look at this, and I hate saying that because, in my heart of hearts, I'm kind of a capitalist. I think the system should work itself out. But at the end of the day, you have these gig app companies that are taking these enormous service fees, okay? And it is really creating a problem on both ends of the app, okay? It's creating a problem with the passengers because in order to get these fees, they have to charge passengers more and more money, okay? And to maintain the levels of profit that a lot of these companies are now experiencing, they have to continue to pay the workers, the gig workers, less and less money. So it really affects everybody. It's affecting the passengers and the customers, and it's affecting the drivers and the workers, depending on what app you're doing. And it's a real problem. And you have to ask yourself, at what point does it become too much for the system? At what point does it become such a burden that the system breaks? Okay. And I don't know the answer to this question. I suspect that it's very soon. Okay. As time goes on, drivers and gig workers, they're working less and less on the apps that they've chosen. JPMorgan came out with a study, and they actually tracked bank deposits. Okay, they didn't track individuals, but they looked at bank deposits over several years, and what they found was the average gig worker worked less than 12 months at their gig before they quit. So it didn't matter if you were doing Uber, it didn't matter if you were doing Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart, whatever your gig was, even stuff like TaskRabbit. Okay, JPMorgan Chase looked at it and they tracked the deposits. Okay, and they said how many people are getting deposits from a gig app and then continue to stay at that gig app and actually work at it for a long period of time. And what they found was 52% were leaving in less than a year, okay? And of those 52%, 41% didn't work more than the first couple months, if that, okay? So think about that for a second. We all know that these, gig companies, Uber and Lyft and such, they've always had a very, very high turnover rate, plain and simple. A lot of people come into it and it doesn't meet their expectations for whatever reason. They quickly find out that, wait a minute, this is extremely expensive, number one. Number two, it's not easy work, plain and simple, okay? You would think going and picking up people's food, if you're doing DoorDash, you would think that going and picking people's food up is simple, but it's not. You've got to park. You got to run in and grab the food. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it takes a little bit more effort than people initially think it's going to take. And I think that's part of the problem. But the second problem is pay, plain and simple. They're just not paying people enough money to do the work. And maybe that's why they're so invested into autonomous vehicles and these robot delivery machines for the inner city. Maybe they see the handwriting on the wall. At the end of the day, maybe they know that at some point there's a breaking point. There's that straw that broke the camel's back, okay? And maybe they know that they're closer to that point than the rest of us actually realize. I don't know. I mean, drop a comment. Let me know what you think. I've been in the gig industry for a long, long time, okay? And I love it. I love driving Uber. I love driving Lyft. You know, you meet great people. It's, you know, I don't think it's that difficult to work. It can be grueling at times, but let me know what you think. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think a lot of people sign up for this and don't realize what's involved? So another reason there's such a problem with the math when it comes to the gig economy is simple. Year over year, most people receive a cost of living increase. They receive some type of raise. Gig workers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, DoorDash delivery drivers, no, we don't get any such thing, okay? Year over year, we see our costs rise, which means our pay is going down, okay? Plain and simple. The price of fuel keeps going up. The real impact is the price of maintenance, okay? To maintain a vehicle is extremely expensive. There's brakes, there's tires, there's oil changes, there's all kinds of issues that arise year after year. And more drivers and workers in the gig economy are saying, wait a minute, I'm spending all this money. Sure, it looks like I'm making $35 or $40 an hour, but by the time you back those costs out, okay, you start to see what you actually are making is a lot less. So then you look at an industry, and we're just going to use fast food for a moment. Okay, you look at an industry like fast food, and a gig worker may say, yeah, you know, maybe I'm not making as much money on an hourly rate, but at the end of the day, I'm making almost the same money, or maybe even a little bit more, depending on what state you live in. You know, got to remember, a lot of states here in Maryland, the minimum wage is $15 an hour, and there's talk to try and make it $20 an hour, which if I was a gambler, I would say they'll make it $20 an hour. You watch. And yet, when I walk into all these fast food restaurants, you still see 7 or 8 employees doing the work, okay? They haven't shifted to using robots. They haven't shifted to 100% AI. So people are still being employed at these places, and you have, you know, gig workers looking at it and saying, okay, you know, should I look at going back to whatever industry they maybe were working in before? And a lot of them, according to JPMorgan Chase, are looking at it and saying, yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth doing, you know, Uber driving. It's not worth going out there and working in the gig economy, because I can make the same amount of money, not have to worry about paying my own taxes, not have to worry about maintaining a vehicle at such a high level that you do when you drive Uber or Lyft or something like that. And on top of that, you may even be eligible for medical benefits, retirement benefits, and all that. Uber drivers, we don't get any of that, okay? The gig economy, you're on your own. You are an independent contractor, and you're responsible for all of that. And the problem is that a lot of these companies, almost all of them, actually I would say all of them, they're not paying the contractors enough money to do any of this, okay? A lot of these gig workers are barely scraping by, and this is a real problem, and it's a problem that eventually has to come to a head. I don't care who you are or what you think. Eventually, problems like this, they come to a head, and when they do, it's kind of like a bubble bursting. All right, so before I wrap this video up, I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you to everybody. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it when you subscribe. It makes a big difference to me. And if you haven't already, please drop a comment. I love hearing from everybody, and I try to answer every single comment that people put on the channel. So by all means, drop a comment, and I'll try and respond to it. I'll see everybody in the next video. Thanks.